term to scale mean? Hi everyone, it's Carol from Discover Interior Design, and I'm so glad you're here. In this video, we're going to talk about what to scale means, as well as find out how it relates to space planning and interior design, and how you can use that as a tool to help you plan a furniture layout. So let's get started. So what does to scale mean? So that just means that a grouping of elements have the right size in relationship to each other. So think of a map like Google Maps, and when we look at that, we can see that everything is in relationship to each other, that there is a scale that's being used, a size that's being used in a consistent way throughout that map so that we get an idea of distances. And whether we zoom in or zoom out, that scale is always consistent, that everything inside of that drawing is consistent. And so we can think about this application in interior design and in architecture. So we can think of a floor plan. So we have a floor plan where we have a room and some furniture in that room. And that entire drawing, that floor plan, that space plan that we are using to figure out the layout of furniture, everything in that drawing has the same scale, that everything has the right size in relationship to one another. The size of that relationship, that scale between different elements can vary. So, an architect, maybe they are working on a commercial building. Lots of times commercial buildings are drawn to the scale of 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So that means when they are drawing this out on the computer program or on a piece of paper, that they are drafting everything out where every 1/8 of an inch, that equals 1 foot. Because commercial buildings in general are usually much larger than a home, where we would just use a 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. And we need to be able to draw things to scale so that there's a consistency in the relationship between different sizes. Plus, we need to draw things in scale because we're not always able to draw things their actual sizes. Another way to think of things that are to scale is that we can think of them as a way of seeing how things are going to turn out. So when a floor plan, for instance, is drawn with a furniture layout, we will know how that's going to turn out. We will know where that sofa will be or where that coffee table will be. Because if we didn't do that and we just kind of randomly came up with a rectangle shape and placed different sizes of furniture in there that aren't in scale with the room, and we use that as the way to plan the room, and then we go in and actually move the furniture in there, things are not going to fit and work out how we are expecting them. So think of things that are to scale as a way to let us know how things are going to turn out. So how can we use this information when we're just working on the interior design of our homes? Well, there's a couple examples that you can think about, and there are more examples out there, but we can talk about a couple. One of them is, say you wanted to redesign your bathroom and you wanted to redo the tile in your bathroom, and you want to create a neat design where your tub surround is on that wall. Well, what you could do is create a drawing to scale so that you could see the actual design of that tile layout. And that information you could give to a tile installer or use that for yourself so you know how many tiles you'll need and what size of tiles you'll need and exactly how that design is going to turn out. You may want to draw that where every 1 inch equals 1 foot, maybe at a larger scale because there's lots of little details and it's a smaller little area. And what you would be thinking about is that type of drawing would be what we call a wall elevation, which means that you're just elevating the wall. You are just drawing a picture of the wall straight on, almost like a floor plan, but it's the wall, and everything is to scale, and all of those elements, all those different tiles are the right size and in scale with one another. So you get an idea of how the design is going to turn out. Another example of where this may happen when you're doing interior design in your home is, say you are going to redo your kitchen, and that's where, a kitchen designer or an interior designer, they would create a wall elevation to show you exactly where everything is going to be located, as well as a floor plan view. And what they would want to do is make sure that everything is to scale, that all of those details, all of the layout of the countertops and the cabinets, everything is relating to one another in a certain scale. But one of the best ways to think about using drawings and creating drawings that are to scale is when you want to do a furniture layout. And this is where you would draw the room and the furniture to scale, and they would be in a certain scale so that they would relate to one another. And the reason why you'd want to do this is it goes back to planning things. And the more you plan things out, even just the layout of a living room and all the furniture and everything else that goes in there, the more you do to plan that out ahead of time, the better off you'll be, because then you'll know exactly where to place the sofa and where to place your other chair and anything else that goes in that room. Of course, you still need to keep in mind that our rooms are three-dimensional, so you need to keep in mind the height of the ceiling and anything else that's going on in that room. But starting out with a scale drawing of your living room and all the furniture that will go in there is going to help you really create a nice design to that space. And if you would like to create a simple space plan to create a furniture layout in a room, I have an exercise at the end of this video where I share a step-by-step process on how to do this. So when you have something that you want to kind of see how it's going to turn out, that's where it's really helpful to draw something to scale. So whether that's putting in a new tile and you want to work on a design for the tile in your tub surround, or whether that's creating a furniture layout in your living room, drawing that out to scale so that you can kind of figure all that out ahead of time will help you see how everything is going to turn out. So I'd love to find out from you if you already do this, where you plan your furniture arrangement ahead of time so that you'll know where everything is going to go and that everything is going to turn out okay. So please share what you do in the comments. And if you have any other design ideas for us, please share that as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. So here's a step-by-step guide on how to create a simple space plan so that you can create a furniture layout in a room. Before you start, here's what you'll need: a measuring tape, a pencil and eraser, note paper or a phone or tablet for notes, a ruler, 2 pieces of graph paper, scissors, and a pen or marker, which are optional. And you can buy a pad of graph paper. Sometimes it's referred to as layout bond, or if you want, I have a grid that you can download for free on my website. So I'll leave the link to that page in this video's description. So the first part that we're going to do is where we're going to draw a floor plan on the graph paper. So the first thing that you want to do is start by taking measurements of your room. And we want to measure the overall width and depth of the room. And just a measuring note, just round up to the nearest half foot or foot. And so for an example, we'll use this room. If we take the measurements of this room, the width and the depth, we come up with a room that is 11 feet wide by 12 feet deep. And then when you have those measurements, draw the walls and the perimeter of your room on that first piece of graph paper. And use the scale that you want and use the grid on the graph paper to measure out those dimensions. And then measure the width of any doors, openings, windows, and anything else that's important in the room, maybe like a fireplace. And so in our example room, our door is 3 feet wide, the window is 6 feet wide, the opening to a dining area is 4 feet wide, and an opening to the hall is 3 feet wide. And if you do have a fireplace, just measure the width as well as the depth, how far into the room that the fireplace hearth takes up space. And then measure the distance and location of the doors, windows, and any other features in the room. And then draw these on the floor plan. So in our room example, we would make a note that the door is just an inch or two away from that one wall on the bottom of this picture. And I would just measure out 3 feet for the width of that door from that one wall. And then the window is centered on that same wall where the door is. I would just find the center of that wall and make a mark on either side to show a 6-foot window. And the opening to the dining room area is 4 feet out from that top wall. So I would just make a little note where that opening is. And the opening for the hall is 3 feet wide. And so it's 3 feet from that one wall on the right side to the other wall. And so I would just make a little note where that opening is. And then in the next part, this is where you're going to create the furniture templates. So the first thing that you'll do is take measurements of all of your furniture and any other items that you want to have a measurement for. And just take the width and depth. So for this room, we have a sofa that is 6 feet wide and 3 feet deep. We have a coffee table that is 5 feet wide and 18 inches deep. We have a chair that is 24 inches wide by 30 inches deep. We have a side table that is 18 inches in diameter. We have a plant that is around 24 inches in diameter, a floor lamp that is around 12 inches in diameter, a shelf that is 30 inches wide by 12 inches deep, and we also know that there's going to be a TV that will go on one wall, but we really don't need to have the exact measurements for that because it will just kind of go on the wall, and plus it's just very narrow. And then when you have that information, then draw those on your second sheet of graph paper and then label each piece of furniture. Then the next thing to do is cut out each piece of your furniture. And then the final step is for you to have fun arranging the furniture on your floor plan and trying out different furniture layouts. And keep in mind to leave plenty of clearance around the furniture and space for walkways and space to open the door. And also remember that there may be more than one way to arrange things. And that's kind of fun because then in the future you can refresh the room knowing how to arrange the furniture in a different way. And if you went through this design process of creating a space plan and furniture layout in a room, please share that in the comments and let us know how everything turned out. And if you have any questions.